Hey, ladies, you're listening to part 2 of my 10-step blueprint to balanced hormones. So if you haven't already, go back and listen to part 1 because obviously that should come first before part 2. So if you haven't already, listen to that one first. We went through steps 1 to 5, which were test, don't guess, diet, sleep, stress, and infections. So those are my first 5 steps that you can do and get started today with to help balance your hormones. And these are things that have to happen. You can't skip out on some of these steps because they're all so important to the health of your hormones. And they're all things that we all struggle with to some degree, all of these steps, right? So the diet, it's going to depend on what hormones you have out of balance. What test you do is going to have to do with, what age you're at, what you're trying to find out. Are you looking to see what the metabolites are? Are you looking to see the adrenal health, etc.? When it comes to sleep, women tend to have a lot of insomnia. So whether it's that you can't fall asleep or you're waking up multiple times in the night, there's different reasons for not having a good sleep. And it's really crucial that we all get a good night's sleep because there's so much that happens to our system as far as repair and all of the hormones and how they interact with each other, that we have to make sure that we are getting sufficient amounts of sleep in order to do those jobs, to have those jobs done on the inside while we're sleeping. And of course, stress. We all know that we are all too stressed out. Even if your life might not be that stressful, the environment is quite stressful to our bodies and to our hormones. And stress is, the top of the pyramid sort of thing, where if that's not in check, all the hormones will be affected by that. And then infection, we all think, oh, well, I don't have an infection, but you'd be surprised at how many people do have an infection, even if it's just a low grade bacterial or viral infection. It's actually quite common to have. And it's important to work with a practitioner that understands how to interpret labs to really figure out if there could be something underlying the hormonal imbalance, because if there is and you don't clear that out, you could be slapping on all the hormones and taking all the supplements and doing all the diets. But if you haven't got rid of that infection, you're only going to get so far. So today we're going to do the next 5. But before we get started, I got a question for you. Have you heard of acromencia or roseburia? So both of these, I personally do not have much of, and it is something that we all want because these are 2 bacteria strains that help with weight loss, which means if you don't have very good levels of these bacteria, it could be affecting your ability to lose weight. And through my Thrive gut health test, I discovered my acromencia and my roseburia were not so great. So that was kind of not excited to hear that, but just thought, wow, that's great that I've got something to work on that could possibly help with my body's ability to lose weight. So I've been taking the right probiotics in order to increase my acromencia and eating different foods. One of the things that you can do is you can actually start adding in polyphenols in order to help with your acromencia levels. And so I've got wonderful paleo reds, it's called, by Designs for Health. And I've added that into my diet to help increase my polyphenols, since I don't seem to be getting it obviously enough through diet. And then I'm also taking the right probiotics that will help increase this. So this was all done through a wonderful company called Thrive. It's a gut health test, and they are our sponsors today for today's show. So check it out. And today you can get 10% off your kit, your first Thrive gut health kit. And they're really affordable. They're not even $100. And then you'll get the 10% off when you use the coupon and the link in the show notes. So That's all for today for the sponsorships. Let's get to our next 5 steps of how to balance your hormones. So, speaking of gut health and why you would maybe want to do the Thrive Gut Health test, is our number 6 is all about gut health and how that can have a massive influence on whether or not you can balance those hormones out. There are so many things that happen in the gut when it comes to our hormones. So if your gut is compromised or you've got an infection in the gut, like we talked about last time, like a small intestinal bacteria overgrowth or H. pylori, candida, these are all things that can really compromise the health of your gut. So it'll be very key for you to get rid of those infections. But in general, we want healthy gut bacteria in order to help balance those hormones. And there's many reasons for that. If you have what is called leaky gut, you will have food sensitivities, inflammation in the body and the brain. Poor gut health can affect your body's ability to produce something called serotonin, which I'm sure you've all heard of, a neurotransmitter, which is also considered a brain hormone that regulates mood and appetite. About 90% of your serotonin is produced in the gut. Serotonin is a precursor to melatonin. So you see, they're all interconnected. Thyroid and gut health have a massive connection as well. Studies have shown that low thyroid hormones can lead to leaky gut, and poor gut health can suppress thyroid function. Healthy gut bacteria assists in converting the inactive thyroid hormone T4 into the active form of thyroid hormone T3. Now, I see this actually quite often in my practice where somebody's TSH, that's thyroid stimulating hormone, on a test will come back normal. And this is the only test in Canada that they'll test for with thyroid unless they see a problem with that TSH. So it's a very broken system when it comes to testing thyroid, because so many people nowadays have leaky gut. I would say we all have some degree of leaky gut because of the food that we're eating and the amount of pesticides and toxins that are in it. Even just stress alone can cause leaky gut. If you take antibiotics, if you're eating, non-organic foods, heavy GMO foods, gluten, I mean, the list goes on. We have so many things coming at us right now that can cause leaky gut. So even if you're just totally on top of it, which I feel like I am, I still have some degree of leaky gut. And I know that because of my Thrive test that I took. So I may have a really good bacteria score. So I've got about a 75% bacteria score, or maybe it's less than that. Maybe it's 65, but it was considered good, but it wasn't perfect. So I don't know if that's possible to have like a perfect scored gut health test, but you could certainly get pretty close to it, I think, when you are testing it and replacing that bacteria. But what I see often in my practice is women that have a problem with converting the T4 to T3 because they have gut problems. So they don't have an autoimmune thyroid condition, and so it's often missed, or it's not shown in the TSH because the problem doesn't lie within the T4, which is what stimulates TSH. So if you've got poor gut bacteria, you're not going to be converting the inactive thyroid hormone to the active thyroid hormone, which has so much to do with your ability to lose weight, because that's your metabolism, has everything to do with your metabolism. Inflammation in the gut also reduces T3 by raising cortisol, and cortisol decreases active T3 levels while increasing levels of reverse T3, the storage thyroid hormone. And that tanks your metabolism. There's a strong correlation between leaky gut and autoimmune conditions, and especially that hypothyroid autoimmune condition, Hashimoto's. Anyone with an autoimmune condition has leaky gut that they've tested. I thought that was pretty amazing to hear, that has so much to do with the development of an autoimmune condition is the state of your gut. And so it's always very, very important to target gut health when you've got an autoimmune condition. I mean, at all times, we want to target good health in the gut, but especially for those of you with an autoimmune condition, because you are guaranteed to have a leaky gut. So one of the most important functions in the gut when it comes to hormones is its role in something called estrogen metabolism. Once deactivated by your liver, estrogen is sent off to be excreted through your bowel. But if your gut is under functioning, let's say because you have constipation, well, the body will reabsorb and recirculate the estrogen back into your body. And this can cause estrogen dominance. Another factor that influence the estrogen detoxification is something called estrobolome, which is your microbiome responsible for metabolizing estrogen. These microbes produce an enzyme called beta-glucuronidase that has the ability to reactivate estrogen once again and can then recirculate it through your body. So going back to, once again, the sponsors today, Thrive Gut Health, although they don't test for estrobolome, it will help you to identify the health of your microbiome so that you're specifically figuring out which bacteria you're lacking, and then you can improve upon that bacteria. When the gut microbiome is healthy, the estrobolome produces just the right amount of beta-glucuronidase to maintain estrogen homeostasis. You can also do a comprehensive test called the GI map. This will test your levels of beta-glucuronidase. But it's safe to say, folks, gut health is key to hormone balance. In the OnTrack program, there is an entire course on healing the gut that comes with all the supplement recommendations and exactly how it can affect the system, how it can affect your weight and the hormones, a deeper dive into all of this. And so that comes free with your monthly membership. Okay, on to number 7, which I feel is so much bigger than we think. This is one of the things that the more I dive into it, the more I'm just going, oh my gosh, we all have to do number 7. Doesn't matter who you are, you've got to do it. And that, my friend, is detoxification. And this is where I feel I am currently stuck a little bit. That between the detoxification and the infection part, I'm definitely, this is where my hormones get hung up. My thyroid gets hung up. My estrogen gets hung up. That's because I've got very high levels of mercury and lead in my body, like to very, very high, as high as it goes on the test. So where that came from, I have no idea, because I have no mercury fillings, and this deserves a whole podcast episode in and of itself. So I'm not going to go too far into my own story on this, but safe to say we've all got heavy metals, because I've been doing nothing but research heavy metals now for the last couple of years, and we all have them. There's no escaping, except some people can definitely get rid of those heavy metals and other toxins easier than others. So we have these different, what's called detoxification pathways. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today, that have a lot to do with whether or not your body can get rid of toxins. But this is major. And I would say if you suspect toxic load being the problem, then please work with a practitioner. Very, very few people understand detoxification. I spoke with a client the other day who had a terrible infection. Her solution was to do a water fast for 5 days with loads of charcoal. Little did she know she had Hashimoto's. So fasting And using charcoal was probably the worst thing that she could have done to her body, because that's for one, fasting will reduce thyroid hormones. It's considered a very high stress to the system when you fast for long periods of time like that. Charcoal, I love charcoal. I've used charcoal. I use it in a lot of my cleanses and detox that I run people through because it's so beneficial. However, it will grab all of your supplement nutrients and pull them out. So you have to use charcoal as a binder, because that's what it is. It's a binder. It's not, you want to use it when you are following a detoxification program, so that when your toxins get dumped into your gut, that charcoal can be there to bind to it and get rid of it. But just taking loads of charcoal while you're fasting, you're going to be probably doing a little more harm than good. But big mistake was the 5-day water fast, when she was already in a high state of stress because she had a terrible infection. She had been in the hospital, and it was just way too much stress for her body, and her hormones definitely felt that, and they were not doing very well once she got to me. So we need to be very careful. So very briefly, as this needs to be, like I said, podcast all on its own, there are different phases that all need to be supported during a detox, or you risk reabsorbing all the toxins you release in a detox. Phase 1 is your first line of defense against toxins and uses a group of enzymes to convert the volatile toxins into smaller substances meant for further detox. Phase 2 is all about conjugation, which takes these toxins, makes them more water soluble, and that way they can be excreted more easily into your blood or bile for elimination. Then phase 3 is taking these conjugated toxins and releasing them into your kidneys and digestive tract for elimination via your poop and pee. So what does this have to do with hormone balance? Oh, so much. One of our liver's roles is to help regulate the balance of sex hormones. The liver transforms or removes any excess hormones from the body, or at least it's supposed to, and takes them out. For many people, phase 1 of the liver works okay. It is the second phase that is commonly sluggish. This means that molecules pass through the first phase easily and are backed up in second phase. The liver then recirculates the half detoxified molecules in the body, leading to problems, for instance, with your estrogen pathways. If these half detox molecules are hormones, which they often are, this contributes to hormonal noise at the receptor sites, which in turn contributes to a hormone imbalance. Our environment is full of xenoestrogens, which your liver needs to be able to excrete, where you can get symptoms of estrogen dominance because your liver isn't detoxifying these chemicals, which act on the hormone receptor sites. Also, heavy metals can build up in the body, especially if your detox pathways are backed up and not functioning properly. Metals like mercury, lead, and aluminum are everywhere in our environment. And as I said before, no one escapes them. Mercury has an affinity for your thyroid and can lower thyroid hormones. Significantly higher levels of mercury were found in women with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, possibly because mercury can lower progesterone levels. Many metals can also bind to hormone receptor sites, acting like estrogen or blocking hormones from working right. So you can see how this could greatly affect hormone function. There's also a strong link between heavy metals and insulin resistance. type 2 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. If you listen to the podcast that I did in January with Dr. Joseph Pizzorno, he gets right into how heavy metals can cause insulin resistance. And there is quite a few people that I speak to that say, I'm following a ketogenic diet, or I'm taking the medication, I'm fasting like crazy. Why am I still insulin resistant, or why do I still have type 2 diabetes? So if that's you, maybe your next step should be testing for heavy metals. Know that they need to detox. If you are breathing, you need to detox. How about that? Truly. There is, I think, a lot of controversy just about, our body's ability to get rid of toxins on its own. And, some people will say, well, the body's built to get rid of these things. And you're right, to an extent, our body can get rid of toxins. And as I said before, some people can do it better than others. And that can have to do with genetics or just exactly what toxins we're talking about. But it's safe to say the majority of us have to detoxify unless you're living out in the middle of nowhere and you're not exposed to the toxins of every day. But even then, the air you're breathing is going to have toxins in it. We have thousands of different toxins in us at any one time. So we have, if you're struggling with weight, if you're struggling with hormones, I really feel that this has to be something that we all do at least quarterly throughout the year. That's how much I do my liver detoxes and hormone detoxes, is 4 times a year. And that's what I also do. I do it with the OnTrack group because I take the members as part of their membership through 4 detoxifications a year with different goals with each one, but they are all aimed to an extent at the liver and the gallbladder, and of course, just detoxing the xenoestrogens out of the body to help with the hormones. But all of that, anything that you do to support your liver, to support those detoxification pathways, are key. But here's the thing. You can't just run out to your health food store and buy the $20 kit that's going to make you crap your pants for 2 weeks and starve you out and call that a cleanse, which is about 95% of what you're going to see when you go to a health food store, are those types of detox kits. And I used to do them. There's one here in Canada called the Wild Rose Cleanse. And I know that all of the Canadians listening are going, done that, been there, done that. I think it's one of the most popular cleanses that Canadians do, is the Wild Rose Cleanse. And I did it, oh gosh, I was doing it like 20 years ago, so long ago. And it really just, it made you poop. That was it. You pooped like crazy. You barely ate for a week. You thought you were doing yourself a justice, thinking, oh yeah, this is great, getting everything out. And it was not doing that. So there are colon cleanses, and those are great to do if you're backed up and you're just trying to get things rolling again. Try it out. But when it comes to proper detoxification, where we are targeting phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, then you have to have certain ingredients in those detoxification kits. So be very, very careful and make sure that you educate yourself on how to properly detoxify before you just go run out and buy yourself a kit off the shelf. You can, of course, follow along in the OnTrack group, and I teach you all about this and tell you which supplements to get that will support both those detoxification pathways. But if you want to do it on your own, then make sure that you research it properly, get the list of what you need. And it's actually important to eat at the beginning of cleanses, which I think a lot of people also don't know, because they assume that for cleansing, you should be kind of in a starved state. And you don't have to be, you shouldn't be in the beginning. You really want to be eating things like animal protein, which also a lot of people don't realize, because the animal protein has the right amino acid profile in order to upregulate those detox pathways. So eating good quality protein throughout your cleanse is key, and you don't have to do it all throughout, but you definitely want to make sure that that is incorporated into the cleanse somewhere. And then towards the end of your cleanse, you should actually be going into a caloric deficit in order to release more toxins. So you spend the first little bit kind of up regulating those detox pathways, getting things going with the right supplements, with the right diet, to eating certain foods that can help all the detox pathways get up and running. And then you go into a caloric deficit, and that will help to release more of the fat, which will have a lot of where the toxins are stored are in the fat. So it'll have an effect on releasing, of course, the fat, which will then release the toxins if you go into a caloric deficit. And then to make sure you're doing a whole bunch of stuff with that as well, to make sure that your bowels are running properly, that you've got enough fiber, you've got the binders in there, et cetera, adrenal support. And then I always feel like that should, if there's any suspect that you are not detoxifying very well, I really feel it's a great place to start. Like, you could even put this as number one before you do any testing, before you, figure out what diet you need to do, is to do a proper, 21 to 30 day detoxification where you're supporting those phases. It's also really important to do before you go in and start killing off infections. So this one probably should have come before infection, and it also helps to get rid of stress on the system, right? So once you get rid of some of those toxins, the cortisol levels can actually shift. So very important to, before you start going in and killing off the infections or getting rid of the heavy metals, is to make sure those detox pathways are up and running properly. So besides that, one last thing that I want to mention is, of course, when it comes to detoxification, alcohol. If you're a drinker, let's say you're even at, 1 to 2 glasses a night of your wine, which is very common, this can greatly affect your hormones. And your liver will be having to deal with the alcohol which means the other stuff doesn't get dealt with as well. So making sure that, if you are a drinker, ever more reason why you need to be doing these detoxifications on a regular basis, and also just taking something to support your liver health. If you want to drink and you want to drink on a regular basis, whether that's a couple times a week, once a week, you should be taking something that's going to support your liver, because with everything else that's going on and all the xenoestrogens and the heavy metals and all this other stuff that's in our environment, if you're drinking on top of all of that and your liver's being burdened from having to deal with the alcohol all the time, these other toxins are going to build up in your system. So taking a break from alcohol is always a good idea. I know many people don't like hearing that, but we got to do what we got to do. So if you're really serious about getting your hormones in check, alcohol has a massive impact on it on many different levels. So consider cutting back and at least supporting the liver and doing quarterly liver cleanses if you are going to be drinking. So it's safe to say detox is massive. And I am only just scratching the surface on this, and I will have to absolutely do another podcast about it. I'd like to do a podcast just about my own heavy metals journey, because it's been very interesting and I've just found out so much very important information about it. So I think I'll have to do that in one of these up and coming episodes. So in the OnTrack group, we run 4 detoxes a year, which are free with your membership. We do a liver gallbladder one. We do a clean keto detox, which we're just coming to the end of right now. There's a midsummer detox, and there's a hormone detox as well. We do, usually around the same time, whether at the end of it, usually at the end of these cleanses, we also do the fasting mimicking diet, which helps the body to kick out more toxins in the end and puts your body into a fasted state, but with allowing some food in there. So it makes it a lot easier than doing just a water fast. So once again, that's all included. So is all about, I give you the list of the supplements and all the information that you need about how to cleanse properly. It comes with cleanse guidebooks and what to eat, what not to eat, etc. Okay, so speaking of supplements, number 8 is supplements. Using supplements can have a massive impact on your hormone health, and they could and should be used. I had a new member the other day who, when I read her intake form, she had put on there that first I asked everybody, what supplements do you take? And she said, a multivitamin. I was like, that just never happens. Most of us ladies have cupboards full of supplements that we've bought in the past, including myself. Like I've had to really be mindful of this lately, which is do not buy any more supplements, Karen, and use up what you have. So I definitely say that to you as well. Use up what you got, if you can, use it up, and then get really targeted with your supplements. I'm often asked, what supplements are best, Karen? And there's definitely some things that I really like, and I think most of us could benefit from. But when we're talking the hormone imbalance and you are suffering with something going on with your hormones, you really want to be specific to you and your needs first and foremost, before you just start throwing in a whole bunch of different supplements, because really you read about supplements, and this is where I go wrong and I fall for this every time, is you read about them and it's like, ooh, that sounds like I could use that. I'd like to do, I'd like to try that. I'd like to do it. And so you go out, you buy it because you've read that it helps with energy or helps with weight loss or it helps with brain function, whatever it might be. And we fall for that very easily. It's just, I think I need to have that. And then it sits on the shelf after you've used it for a couple of times and realize, I don't really feel anything. I'm not going to even be consistent with this. So when you're in this stage of the game, you need to make sure that you know what supplements you need, which this goes back to test, don't guess. And that can be for certain things as well. Like I tested, all my Bs, I've tested zinc, selenium, because I have detox stuff going on and I've got thyroid stuff going on. So I wanted to see, do I have sufficient levels? I'm about to do an iodine challenge test, thanks to my great interview with Dr. David Brownstein, because I'm like, I could probably use iodine. I've got a thyroid problem. Iodine seems so magical, according to him. And I believe what he says. So I'm like, I'm going to go test. I'm not going to start just downing the iodine, because if I don't need it, that's not a good idea. So when it comes to the supplements, they're going to help you. They're going to assist you in proper detoxification, which we just talked about. It can help break down used estrogens. They can help your body's own production in producing hormones. Things like Vitex, or chasteberry is another name for it, that can really help with progesterone. Maca for DHEA and testosterone. Vitamin C for progesterone, as well for adrenal health, as well as adrenal glandulars for adrenal health, and just cortisol levels. D-indole methane a great one to help your body to bind to the excess estrogen in the body and get rid of it. Calcium D-glucarate, another awesome one for estrogen detoxification. It can help break it down in the gut and get it on out. So there's many different key supplements that will help with very specific hormonal imbalances. And you need to be very careful with this. That's why testing must come first. I often talk to women who have, just willy-nilly their supplements and just started taking different things because they assume, for instance, that they're estrogen dominant. And when in reality, they were depleted in estrogen, and the supplements they were taking were draining their estrogen farther. I come across this all the time. One of the most popular supplements right now for women to be on is DIM, the D-indole-methane. All the time in my practice, I'm doing, if it's a hormone interpretation session, they've got their hormones tested through one of my kits, and it comes with a free 20-minute interpretation session. And I'll see that they have no estrogen. And I'll say, oh, you need to, up your estrogen. And they're like, oh, I've been taking DIM. And this all the time happens. And I'm like, yeah, very common, because the symptoms of estrogen dominance are very common in women right now. And it doesn't, so those symptoms are right. If you have estrogen dominance, you're going to have these certain symptoms, but these symptoms also go with many different hormonal imbalances, as well as just other issues like food sensitivities and stuff, because estrogen dominance is weight loss resistance, weight put on in the hips and the stomach and the thighs and things like that, right? That area, the midsection area, which we can all go, yeah, that's me, right? Heavy periods, that can happen as well. But what's actually happening is they still have too much estrogen in comparison to their progesterone. Even though their estrogen isn't high, it's still higher than progesterone. And so they'll have heavier bleeding because of that. And so they assume, oh, okay, I must have too much estrogen. And they start taking DIM, which depletes it further. And this goes with cortisol things as well, like adrenal health. I often see people just going on some supplement, an adrenal complex of some sort, or taking adaptogens, and there's very specific ones for high cortisol and specific ones for low cortisol. And you don't want to be messing those two things up, because if you've got high cortisol and you've read that, oh, this is an adaptogen, it's going to help either way, lower or higher or raise it, whatever my body needs. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work that way with a lot of them. A lot of them are they're built more for either low or high, not both, even though it's called an adaptogen. So things like holy basil, people will just take that. And holy basil is specifically more for lowering cortisol. Things like adrenal glandulars. A lot of people with high cortisol are downing adrenal glandulars, and that can make the cortisol go up. So you have to, once again, test, don't guess, figure it out, because supplements can be very powerful and should be used. Absolutely. I think that they're such a great tool for when it comes to many different things and solving our problems. But know which ones to take, so that you're not taking 50 different supplements in hopes that something's going to, stick. I'm going to throw as much as I can at this problem with supplements, and hopefully one of them is going to work. There's no point in that. Take what you're supposed to take. And in the end, the testing that you might have to do in order to find out what to take is going to save you money, because you're not just continually buying supplements and wasting your money, wasting the supplements. So know which supplements to take. And also, I think it's good to point out that supplements can also only take you so far. We really want to be able to take the magic pill that solves all of the problems. And supplements very rarely will do that. They are slow, they are nourishing in most cases, you know, if you've got taking the right ones. And it's just a slower process. It's not an instantaneous, oh, this makes you feel good. And you have to have all these other things in place for those supplements to do their job and to work properly. Because if you've got a destroyed gut, you can take all the supplements in the world. If you're not eating in the right diet, you can take all the supplements in the world, and it's not going to make much of a difference. It could help, but it's not going to make a big enough difference to the bottom line, which is let's balance these hormones out. So the other thing I want to mention is as you age, and you've heard me say this before if you've listened to me for a while, which is once we get to a certain age, and this happens at different times for different women, for all of us, the ovaries simply start to shut down. They start atrophying. They no longer work. They're no longer the sole provider of hormones because we get a message from our brain to the ovaries to make things like estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. But as we age and these ovaries become old and no longer able to function properly, then at that point, you could take all the Vitex in the world and it's not going to bring back your progesterone. So in the beginning of my perimenopausal journey, I was getting really bad hot flashes and night sweats and irregular period. And I was able to start on a supplement that I sell in the shop called FemGuard Balance. And this is really great just for all around hormonal balancing. It'll help with your progesterone. It helps with the excess estrogens if you've got them. It's got nice phytoestrogens in it that help. Anyways, it's got a bunch of stuff that help with hot flashes and balancing the hormones as you're going through perimenopause. I took it and I did awesome. It got rid of all my hot flashes. My periods were so much better. My PMS was better. It was great. And this lasted almost a year, I would say, on that supplement. And I had to use a little bit of progesterone cream in the second half of my cycle. But then things shifted and, you know, my body stopped ovulating. I was starting to miss my period and the hot flashes were coming back. And so that supplement, it stopped working. And for some, it might continue to be the only thing that they need to take. But for many of us, it won't, because it's not enough to get rid of the symptoms. And so I ditched it and I just, to save the money on it, it's like, okay, well, no point in taking that and bioidentical hormones. I just am going to do the bioidentical hormones. And that's a personal choice. Don't just follow in my footsteps because that's what I did. That's what is working for me, because I was just like, I don't think that this is giving me what I need anymore. Plus it had DIM in it and I didn't want to be taking down my estrogen. So I went and I moved over to using Bies cream, which is an estradiol and estriol cream, as well with a progesterone. And once again, all my symptoms went away. I went back to a regular cycle. Everything is happy. So that brings me to number 9, which is bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. So try supplements first, of course. You really do want to try the supplement route first. And especially if you're just in the beginning phases, or if you're a fertile woman, you're under the age of 40, for sure, don't just go jump to slapping on bioidentical hormones, because that's not it's not the order in which you should be doing things when you're still in your fertile years, because you want to take supplements first so that those supplements can nourish your body and can help balance your system out so that you yourself can make those hormones, not be replacing them when you still have the ability to make your own. That's a very key thing to know. Now, I took progesterone cream when I was in my late 20s and early 30s because even back then, mine was low. I started testing my hormones when I was in my 20s. It was low. I also had endometriosis. So my actual medical doctor, not even my naturopath, my medical doctor, when I was in my late 20s, when I was diagnosed with endometriosis, she put me on bioidentical progesterone. And I didn't have to take it for long. I was on and off of it for, a couple of years basically, but I would do it for short stints of a time. I did it after I was pregnant, after I had my son when I was 37. I had to take it to help with the weight loss, getting the baby weight off. It just wouldn't come off until my progesterone came up, and then I stopped it. And that's when I went on the herbal supplement and was good on that for a while. And then now it's back to the bioidentical hormones. And I have to stick with that because I'm 45 and I'm going into menopause quite early. So try the supplements first, because and try all of these tactics first that I'm talking about here in this podcast episode and the last podcast episode. Go through, make sure you have all of these in line. People really believe or want to believe that putting on bioidentical hormones can be this magic weight loss cure. It is not a magic weight loss cure. Now, in the same breath, I will say, but without those hormones, you will have a very, very hard time losing weight. So for many women, they need to get the hormones up and then put the efforts into losing weight, and they'll lose. Some women, it is the magic cure. They'll put, like when I just was saying that I used it when I was, after my son was born, when I was 37, couldn't get that last 10 pounds off. I tried everything. I was eating so well and exercising and doing all the right things. So finally had my hormones tested, started progesterone, and in 1 month I lost the 10 pounds. So it was the magic bullet that time. But in most cases, it's not the magic bullet. So don't think that you can just go and slap it on if you haven't addressed all of the other steps that we've talked about up until this point. You 100% have to go through all of those things, because if your detox pathways aren't open and you start slapping on hormones, they're going to build up and they're going to recirculate and you're going to gain weight. If you're taking the wrong hormones because you haven't tested, another big no-no. You don't want to just start guessing at which hormones you need to be replacing. That's a really big, big no-no. You don't want to have the wrong diet, because remember, the good bacteria, which leads to healthy estrobolome and beta-glucuronidase levels. So if you don't have a good diet and then you're slapping on all these hormones, your body, once again, it's going to recirculate that estrogen and you can become estrogen dominant. Same with if you still are loaded with heavy metals. I personally, I worked on my detox pathways. Now I'm working at getting the heavy metals out and still taking the bioidentical hormones, but at least I'm doing it all at once. And the hormones are definitely helping get rid of all of the symptoms of the perimenopause. And it'll be interesting to see, like, once my heavy metal levels go down, will I maybe not need to replace the hormones right now? Who knows? I think that I'll definitely be able to lower my thyroid medication, but this is something that's going to take time, because heavy metals take a very long time to get rid of your body, like up to 7 years. So for now, I'm going to use the hormones because I definitely need them and they make me feel much, much better. But for you, make sure you have all of these other things in place. If you're a fertile woman, please go with the supplement route first before jumping on the bioidentical hormone train. And of course, to all of you, please make sure you're working with a doctor or someone like myself, or you're in the OnTrack program, which is I take you all through the bioidentical hormone stuff in there and links on where to purchase it. And I'll go through your labs for you and let you know if I think you might benefit from taking hormones and how to talk to your doctor about it and what to ask them for and where to get them, over the counter, et cetera, et cetera. So they have their place and they are key because sometimes you just need that little boost. I listened to this great talk recently with this doctor who, when she was in her 20s and she was working out like crazy, she was like a fanatic exerciser. She was working out 2 hours a day and her body started to totally fall apart. And she had a naturopath put her on testosterone. And she said she didn't take it for long, it was something like 6 months. And she said she felt so much better and it totally fixed the problem. And then, in the meantime, she cut back on the exercise and it just, that testosterone gave her the energy and the recovery hormone that she needed for all the working out. And she said, then she went off of it. So there's places and times that we want to use hormones. And so like I did when I was young, and I used it to help with the endometriosis because I was always more estrogen dominant. So that was a place where, okay, I started taking the Vitex, but I also used progesterone cream for a period of time to help with that issue. So it can be used like that. But once again, there's some, there's hormones that if you take them, like testosterone, it'll regulate your own production of it. So working with a practitioner is really important so that you don't mess yourself up and that you take them properly and you have the right environment on the inside of the body for those bioidentical hormones. Okay, so we are on our last one. So can you guess what number 10 is? Because you're probably thinking, why hasn't she mentioned this yet? Which is exercise. Yes, exercise. Exercise is going to be so important, and not for the typical reasons. Those are great reasons to exercise. But when we're talking about hormones, you guys, this is what exercise will do for your hormones. One, it will help circulate hormones. So if you're on bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, then exercising is going to help with the circulation of moving those hormones through your body. Things like increasing your testosterone and building bone health, strong bones. That's exercise will do that for you. So when I see women coming in with low testosterone levels or men coming in with low testosterone levels, the first thing I want them to do is start lifting weights, because lifting weights helps your production of testosterone. You want to exercise because, of course, it helps increase your metabolism. So for weight loss, things like that, it can really help with things like insulin resistance. Weightlifting in particular and HIIT can help reverse insulin resistance. Walking is one of the best tools to help regulate cortisol levels. So it'll help if you've got high cortisol, it'll help to lower it. And if you've got low cortisol, it's a great, it's not going to lower it farther, but it can really help with, as far as exercise goes. If it's low, walking is one of the better exercises to do because it's not hard on the adrenal system. Of course, when you exercise, you sweat, and sweating is super, super important for detoxification and to release those toxins. So if you're doing those quarterly liver detoxes, you need to be doing some form of exercise where you're sweating and getting your circulation moving so that you can release those toxins that are coming out of the liver. Now, yoga is one of the most amazing things for cortisol and all hormones. If you've ever done yoga before, you know that each pose usually connects to something to do with your hormone. It can also connect to your digestive system and your thyroid. Like whenever you're doing some sort of like the turtle where you're curling your head under and you're you're squishing your neck you're putting your chin to your chest, things like that, really great for thyroid health. There's different things that you can do to help with the pituitary gland. And just in general, it helps lower stress levels because it's moving meditation. So all of these things are so key when it comes to getting those hormones balanced, but really the right type of exercise. So whenever I see somebody's hormone panel, their hormone results, I'll be able to tell them what kind of exercise is going to be best for that particular hormonal imbalance to support it. Because, for instance, if you're insulin resistant, get out there and do some exercise, do some HIIT, do some weightlifting, get out there and do it. But if you've got low cortisol or low thyroid, doing a bunch of HIIT and working out like crazy is going to actually exacerbate the issue. So it's, I've done actually a couple episodes on this. There's one with Jade Tita that you can find, and it's called Female Phase Training. And then I've got another one with Joseph Oniwar, I think is how you pronounce it. Both of them talking about what is the best kind of exercise for perimenopausal and menopausal women and how that changes. Oh, and I also did one with Jenny Halbert. And she also did a masterclass for me that is inside OnTrack, free with your membership. And it's all about how to work out in conjunction with your cycle if you're a cycling woman. You can go back and listen to that episode that I did with her. So those are all really very important things because, like I said, it's not just go out and exercise, it's do the right types of exercise for what your hormonal goals are. Okay, so that is my top 10. And I hope that it's not overwhelming. I hope that you can say, okay, I'm going to just start knocking these off one at a time. And doing what Karen said, just, okay, I'm going to first test and then I'm going to fix the diet depending on what my test tells me. I'm going to take the right supplements to support those things. I'm going to make sure that I have no gut infection and my gut's healthy. And some of this is just by symptoms. Not everybody can afford to go get all the testing done. So if you have to go by symptoms and, trial and error, that's fine. You can do that. It might take you a little bit longer to get there. But if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. And don't skip out on one of the top 10 just because you can't afford to do some testing. Just go by, like I said, go by symptoms and do what you can. So very important. And I want to now take you through. So for those of you that are listening, I will try to describe what I'm looking at, but I'm going to take you guys through on a tour of the OnTrack program so you can see exactly what's on the inside. And that way you'll know if this program is for you or not. So let's do it. Okay, so when you join OnTrack, you will come onto my website and you'll log in with whatever, you'll choose your email and a password to log in. And then you'll see that the menu changes. So I'm going to share my screen here with you. Okay, so now once you're logged in, this will pop up. So this is a new menu bar at the top of my website. You'll start off at Members Hub. And so this is where you'll kind of navigate yourself and figure out, everything is basically from this page and it'll take you off of it into different directions. You'll download this week's meal plan. So every week in the OnTrack program, you'll get a new meal plan, which will come into your inbox via email. So that every Friday morning, you will get that as part of your membership. You can see the different pages. We've got challenges and courses, the toolbox, which we're going to go look at, the schedule page, as well, the new members page. So you can come in here and everybody starts here on the new members page. Just some of the rules and regulations, some of the most frequently asked questions. And then we'll go back to the Members Hub. And when you slide down here, you'll see the core program. So this is the course software. Now, the course is delivered through email in, like a weekly manner, so that every week you'll get new content, so that it will slowly take you through the course. Because when you come in, it can be very overwhelming when you first come in and say, oh my gosh, like, where do I even start? There's all this information. Well, my advice is always to follow with the emails that are coming into your inbox each week. So each week you'll open up your email and you'll see some sort of little, like, a little video to watch, a PDF to download, and it'll take you onto here. So you can kind of go through the course via the website. And a lot of it, you won't even have to log into the website. A lot of it, you'll just be able to catch on your email. So if you come through to the website, you can access this anytime once you start your membership. And so it starts off, of course, with food. So we learn all about the hormone and metabolic reboot meal plan. You've got all about fasting. We've got ebooks on that. We've got an ebook on the hormone and metabolic reboot plan. Some downloads of how to do carb tolerance testing. So what diet and weight loss supplements are best, etc. So these will help you get sorted with what is your diet going to be. So although you're going to have a new meal plan every week, I really, really recommend that everybody tweaks that meal plan to fit their hormonal needs at this time. And I'll show you how to do that. So we'll just go back through to the hub, to the core program. And so you'll see here, I'll just go through these first with you. So this is phase 2, is all about hormones. So I'll take you through all the hormones. We've got checklists, how to test your hormones, there's a little hormone quiz in there. Are you in perimenopause checklist? And then the top guide to all the hormone imbalances. And then we'll go through very specific hormones on each of them for a course on those. Number 3 is phase 3 is mind-body connection. We all know that we can know what to eat, but sometimes it has to do with what's going on up here in the brain that stops us from committing to a healthy eating habit. So we go through just how to get over some of that stuff and connect with what's really happening inside yourself, so that you can move past some of those food addictions and, how to create goals in your life and how to, aim, how to reach those goals, etc. And then phase 4 is a deeper dive. So a deeper dive is there other things that are involved with your hormones? And so that is detoxification, heavy metals, mold, and I go through how to determine if any of those are a problem. So there is those. Now, when it comes to the phase 1 diet and nutrition, I really want everybody to make this their own. And so I give you handouts on how to make substitutions for the meal plan, how to know whether or not you should be fasting, and just how to navigate those meal plans and to make it your own. So if you are coming here kind of from standard American diet, then you may want to start with one of our courses. If you're not, too familiar with low carb diets, paleo, ketogenic type diets, then you may want to come over here and start with one of these courses. So the 21-day Find Your Weight Loss Code, for instance, is going to be a great place to start if you're just not sure how you should be eating. You come from a standard American diet and you need to, kind of start at square one. The 21-day Find Your Weight Loss Code would be a great place to start, because it's going to strip away a lot of those inflammatory foods and help you to determine if there's things that your body's reacting to. Now, when you come onto the challenges and courses page, you'll see when our next challenge is going to begin. We hold 4 challenges throughout the year. So you can see here, the next one is in a couple months. We're going to do, that's the Midsummer Detox Challenge. So there's one that happens in January, one that happens in the spring, in May, one that happens midsummer, and then one that happens in the fall. And this is all included with your membership. And then you can come down here and you can register for a program at a time, basically. So here you'll see we've got like a ketogenic startup guide. Now, the HMR plan is not a ketogenic plan, but we do bring you in and out of ketosis. So if, once again, you're totally new to this, or maybe you've got insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes, doing the ketogenic startup guide would be a great place to start for you. And so you would do that for a couple of weeks, and then you would go into the HMR plan. Then there's the weight loss resistance course. And so the weight loss resistance course is if you are following a healthy diet, maybe you've been following the HMR program, maybe you did the 28-day Find Your Weight Loss code and there was no weight loss. Then you would head over to the weight loss resistance course. And this course is going to help you to determine what is stopping you from losing weight. You know, is it the adrenals? Is it certain hormones? Is it, you know, all sorts of different things that takes you through, and so that you can start going on exactly what it is that could be stopping you from losing weight. So the liver, etc., is a really great course. And then down here, we've got master classes. So master classes, once again, you do, you know, one at a time. This first one is the carnivore diet. So the carnivore diet is if somebody would like to explore the carnivore diet for a period of time. Maybe you've got insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes once again. And so you could come and do the carnivore diet for 30 days just to help reset that insulin resistance, help get over it. We've got the Burn Fat Fast program. So this is a program that I wouldn't recommend for any of you that are just coming in fresh. You wouldn't want to be, you know, started on the HMR program for at least a month or two before going to the Burn Fat Fast program, or it'll just be too challenging. But this is a program that is built exactly what it says, is to burn the fat fast. So it's a 30-day rapid weight loss protocol designed for quick lasting results. Here we've got Building Resilience to Stress with Chris Patton. Now, she is a wonderful practitioner. I just love this woman. And so I hired her to come do a 2-part series on the effects of stress on our body. And she gives us some great meditations and some heart math meditations to help lower stress. It's quite fascinating. So that's a 2-hour course. And then we've got How to Adapt Your Workout to Your Cycle with Jenny Halbert. So in this masterclass, she teaches us how to work out to your cycle for better results without the constant hustle, as she says. Then this one is one of the ones that I did. It's a masterclass teaching you how to eat in sync with your cycle for hormone and health. So that you can definitely apply this course to the HMR plan. You just have to, you'll just tweak it a little bit. So you would have more, you know, carbs at certain times of the cycle and fasting at certain times of the cycle, and certain foods you would try to incorporate into the HMR plan to help with eating in sync with your cycle. And it comes with a 4-week meal plan with that one too. And then this one's a fabulous course by a friend of mine, Dr. Kylie Burton, and this is all about thyroid. So why are my thyroid labs normal, yet I feel like crap? So in that masterclass, she get answers and a plan regarding your thyroid health. Learn how to read your labs in a way that will conquer the normal you hate hearing, which is, you know, your doctor says everything looks normal, then feel empowered to take back the power of your health. So that takes you off of this site actually and onto her course software, but free for all of the OnTrack members. So those are the master classes that come with all the memberships. So you'll have access to that once you join. And then we've got Q&A coaching sessions. And so you just do a drop down and it'll tell you what the questions were for that Q&A coaching call. You can also catch these in the Facebook group and you can go back. You'll have access to every Q&A that's been done. At the time of this recording, we've been in for 5 years. So that's a lot of Q&A coaching calls. So there's answers to everything on here. And with your membership, you have access to all past calls. And then we get to the toolbox. So the toolbox is just a bunch of things that I've collected over the years that I've seen really help women with different things. So you'll get, once again, full access to this upon registration. We've got weight loss tools. We've got hormone tools, lots of ebooks, recipe ebooks, so that you can help substitute things. We got some autoimmune tools, a 4-week autoimmune meal plan, liver gallbladder guide, the hormone and metabolic meal plan tools, and a workout program. And then here we go to scheduled events. And so this will just tell you what's up and coming in the program, as well as what the podcast interview is going to be for that month. So if we go back here to the Members Hub, which is quickly, I can show you a little bit more here. So for instance, if you go into phase 2, you're going to be able to see all of these different courses. So I'm just going to click on one. So here we have cortisol and the cortisol connection. So the cortisol connection, it's a video all about how cortisol interacts with all of your hormones and weight and what you can do to get it back into balance. So we have many of these specialty courses. There's a large one on insulin resistance that we have, handouts on how to get rid of it, what supplements to take, what diet to do. Hyperthyroidism, once again, lots on hypothyroidism because hypothyroidism is a serious problem. So we've got all these handouts here, lab work recommendations, and how to take your body temperature and more. So we'll go back. So just to give you an idea of all the different things that come with everything here. And that's it. So there's, amongst each of these phases, there's a ton of videos, downloads, supplement lists, diet, recommendations for all of the hormone challenges and everything you need to find your weight loss code, your diet, how to make the HMR your own, how to get rid of the eating issues and really connect with yourself and better your life and reduce stress and all of those great things. And then of course, the deeper dive into more complex issues. And then including with all of this, of course, is the bi-weekly coaching sessions, which I think are huge value to the members. With every registration, every person will get a dashboard in my Practice Better dashboard, which is just a software system, a tracking software system. So each member will have access to their own private dashboard. And in this is where you will fill out the member evaluation forms. You'll get the recommended lab work list. You'll get a weight loss tracking form, and you'll be able to message me through this dashboard privately. As well, you'll get a free food journal, a weight loss journal, and so it's a sleep journal and food journal. And then you'll also be able to say, okay, Karen, I did some labs, please go in there and check. I've uploaded some new lab work. Could you please review them for the next Q&A coaching session? And then I'll go through your labs in our Q&A call. So I don't have to say your name. Most people are okay with me saying their first name, and then I'll go make recommendations based on your lab results. So that is huge, huge value to the members, is to have me look at their labs, because their doctor will say, everything looks great. And when I look at it, I see something totally different, and I can make recommendations on how to interpret those and what the person can do to get started on fixing that issue. All right. So that is the OnTrack program. If you have any questions in regards to it and you're not sure if it's for you, please note that there is a 2-week 100% money back guarantee. So if you get into the program and you decide that it's not for you, then you'll get your money back, full return, no questions asked. But still, if you've got questions, then don't be afraid to ask. You can reach me at Karen@KarenMartel.com. All right. Thanks, everyone.